Boom.
Homicide. Humans find that an admirable trait. Murder spree.
Said that right as I drove through my recorded it on the DVR, so you can just fast forward.
For what?
YouTube finally.
We clear the center on that northern side? Is it them?
No. What the fuck?
Thank you.
Is there a bridge there for you guys?
Our module is just randomly exploding. How'd you die?
Just a little bit northeast, coming in on a west angle. They have AA looking.
Try to keep those gals alive if you can. We're going to be doing another job. I hear it. I don't see it. Back off, back off, back away, back away. Get inside of something.
I don't see it on the map.
Nope, not on the map.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Added to the list.
They should fucking be ashamed.
Hello, fellow Auraxians. Today we're going to be talking about bugs in Planetside. I see it a lot on YouTube, or whenever Planetside is brought up outside of the Planetside subreddit. Someone saying the game is filled with bugs. It's so buggy it's not even playable. That's a very large exaggeration, so I'll retort. I'll say, there's no bugs in Planetside. Which is also a very, very large exaggeration. But that's the language people tend to speak in as extremes. The truth is, it's somewhere in the middle. Yes, there are bugs in Planetside, but in general, they're not completely game-breaking. Well, except for the latency bug, where the server will randomly decide to stop sending packets to some people, and you will have massive ping spikes throughout your entire night.
No, I mean,
Guys,
we've
let's
had
get-
this problem for a long time, but like there's
No,
new ones
you're
too.
not here. You haven't. This is
the same shit
really,
we've
really
had
bad.
for about 6-7 months
This is
now.
a lot worse
They
than
broke
I've seen
something
it.
they refused to acknowledge.
Hey, I think I know how it's like to play in Korea because I just had like 5 kills of people I was shooting. Moved on. I shot and gave up because they weren't doing hit detection.
Nah, I'm done for today.
See, man.
I'm not living. I'm listening to you guys. It's more entertaining than the game.
We are getting tweets from the producers saying they're running telemetry on the servers, and they think they have found the problem. Now that the holiday season is over, the bug should sort of go back into its hiding place because the servers won't be as full. So you should be able to play normally again. It is extremely key that they get this bug fixed if Planetside wants to have a future, though. Okay, anyways, let's move on from the game-breaking bugs back to the general run-of-the-mill bugs. They're out there. I used to be very religious about using the Planetside issue tracker. I really liked the concept of being able to kind of community source bugs, kind of pool information, try to come up with good reproductions. But it just started to feel like a fruitless endeavor after a long time. I know Daybreak Games certainly did some work based off of it, but overall they just fell so far behind on the system it wasn't even functional. People have also done the Reddit thing plenty. Go ahead and put together a list of them, list the reproductions, kind of explain what they are. That's nice because it gets a lot of people together that can add their feedback. But that system, the topic sort of disappears after 2 days, and even if it was well upvoted and had a lot of visibility, those problems quickly fade away again. So what it boils down to is those of us that are still playing have basically accepted the game as it is. It's not that we don't notice them, we've just kind of absorbed them into normalcy. The problem is anyone new coming to the game has not. To them, all these bugs are going to feel very jarring. People that are coming from very polished titles like an Overwatch or a Fortnite or a Counter-Strike or a GTA, something along those lines. And I think that's a lot of where the kind of external perception of Planetside is generated from. When people come to check out the game on maybe a popular weekend, they're either running into the game-breaking massive server lag, or if they're not showing up for that stuff, they're sort of running into the little run-of-the-mill things, death by 1,000 cuts type of bugs. I mean, what's more frustrating when you're running in there for a last-minute point secure? There's hash spam coming at you from all sides, and the game all of a sudden reaches that threshold where revive grenades no longer work. Or the sun cast even when shadows are off. What we're looking at here is even though we're indoors, you see the sun rays being cast down, making it really difficult and uncomfortable to look in one direction. Please ignore the mole man running into the ground here. And you can stop this by switching your overall graphics to low into eye bleed mode, or you have to turn your shadows on, which just crush your performance even if you have supercomputer, because then the building will properly shade those sun rays. I can't even remember how I got trapped in here. And sure, you can easily slash suicide or redeploy out. It's not like it's game breaking by any means, but for someone that's not acclimated to this, it's going to be pretty jarring to get thrown into a building and trapped under it. They're not going to think to hit the redeploy button right away, and they're going to start trying to float around and get out of there. And then here's one that seems super minor, but it really gets me. The names of everyone you killed were originally linked in chat. And I can't even remember which patch broke it now, but it stopped listing people that were killed by explosives or that you ran over. It used to be when I ran someone over, I'd immediately be able to click that name in chat, send them a tell, and be like, hey, sorry man, I'm going to grab a medic, stay down. But now, it's such a pain to try to find their name, type it in, that I just don't even bother anymore. This time I at least tried to get a medic over to him, but he had already redeployed. So again, while this bug is by no means game-breaking, it really takes a toll on the social aspect. Before this bug, almost 100% of the time when someone ran me over, the friendly would at least be like, oh, sorry about that, man. Now it's just silence. Sunderers are just rolling through, mowing down friendlies. Just don't even care anymore. It doesn't show up on their chat. Just move out of my way, I'm going somewhere. And that carelessness induced by this really very minor bug just kind of drags the whole social experience down. Here's another fun one, VS bias confirmed. If the VS tie an alert with anyone, they will win. People originally thought that it was just a decimal thing that wasn't represented in the UI. But it kept happening reliably. If VS tied anyone, they always came out with the win on alerts. And so the very plausible idea now is it's just based off of faction ID. VS is 1, NC is 2, TR is 3. So VS will always win an alert if it's a tie, and NC will always beat TR if it's a tie but lose to VS. So kind of wrapping it up, the state of the game, the bug report for Planetside 2, it has degraded over time. Now I understand the need to push forward. I am absolutely willing to deal with some of the smaller bugs if that gets us to something better. The problem is they don't have the resources to give that something better. Now lately they've been mentioning a lot of better things, like potentially DirectX 11, maybe even a new continent. Unfortunately, the first thing that comes to my mind is these massive undertakings are going to create so many additional bugs, is it even worth it? What would be awesome about DirectX 11 to me is not DirectX 11, it would be the taking the time for some serious software engineers to go through the code and go through everything that's kind of been moshed up and messed up over the years. You know, I don't know if it's an accurate analogy, but I'm picturing millions of wires plugged into a machine. And over the years, they've kind of been unplugged, crossed, replugged in where they needed to be to get the next patch out. And a few of them were plugged into the wrong spot. A few of them probably never got plugged back in correctly. And it's just sort of made a mess of everything in the process. If the DirectX 11 deployment would be the chance to look at it all and be like, whoa, we got to clean this mess up. We got to do it right. Then I'm like, okay, cool. That's the type of project we want to take on. But if the DirectX 11 deployment ends up being the same thing that's been happening for the past 4 years, where they're frantically unplugging wires and then trying to hook in this whole new machine and plug them all back in, and we end up with an even bigger bird's nest than before that doesn't address old bugs and might even introduce a few more new bugs that end up lingering around for years to come, then man, I gotta be honest, I don't want DirectX 11 in that case. So what about with Planetside Arena coming up? This is the moment where Planetside 2 really needs to shine. The one saving grace for Planetside 2 in Planetside Arena is that it is pay to play. That means that if people are excited and interested in Arena, but they don't want to pay, there's a good chance they'll come check out Planetside 2 because it's a way to get into it, at least get a feel for the game without spending any money. But if Planetside Arena launches and Planetside 2 is sitting here in its current state of disrepair, it's just not going to have the ability to retain any of those people. The draw for Planetside is the immersion into this impressive futuristic sci-fi world. And every time you see some dead Max sliding around, or some guy run around with their weapon permanently firing, While that doesn't affect the gameplay at all, that is a very jarring experience that really yanks you back out of that immersive world into a position where you're just kind of staring at your screen, laughing and trying to make sense of what's going on. And the new players coming to check out the game will struggle to see through those faults, and it will continue to be death by 1,000 cuts for Planetside 2. Okay, everyone, that wraps it up for now. Thanks for watching. Until next time, I will see you, Planetside.
Hey, back to upper, back to upper.
No bullets are registering right now.
It crashed because I can't spawn.
So I was wondering what was wrong. I'm not getting
No
hit markers.
crash. I'm getting no hit markers at all.
So, in other words, we finally are getting in a good situation and the servers stop taking a shit. Like,
Get on point, multiple people on point.
Why is this always
disconnect?